Randy, what's going on, man?
Hey Graham, how you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm great. About to jump on a plane to Australia for my ninth Elimination Chamber match. I'm excited about that. It's been, I don't know, it's been 5 or 6 years since I've been to Australia, so looking forward to returning to the land down under.
It's a big weekend for you, man. You're in the chamber on Saturday. You got this A&E doc on Sunday. You've been back for 3 months now in WWE. Just talk about, just to rewind a little bit, how's it been like being back in WWE, being back on the road after 18 months away, and just kind of starting to appreciate it a little bit more, knowing at one point your career could have been over?
Yeah, it was, man, for about 6 months, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen, and I had a top of his class neurosurgeon tell me, think about quality of life, post-career. It's probably time you hang up the boots. And that was after seeing an MRI. Riddle and I had been going for about a year, and bless his heart, because of him, I was able to do it that last year. But it got to a point where my symptoms were just killing me. And I had never taken a cortisone shot because I knew that was a slippery slope on the spine, and that was kind of my, I had that in my back pocket, like break glass in case of emergency type thing. So in my head, I was going to get a cortisone shot, epidural, and that was going to give me, an extension on my career. But that MRI came back, and there was so much just degeneration, and I had stenosis of the lower spine, and I had a disc that was slipping, and just the level of degeneration that I had, no shot was going to help me. Like, I needed a spinal fusion, and I actually had an auto fusion at L5S1, which, my body fused itself at that level, and that just is a testament to just how destroyed my back was for my 30s, that decade from 2010 to 2020, man. Like, I was in pain that whole time, and now, after everything's said and done, the surgery was a success. I put on 30 pounds of muscle, purely because of my change in diet and the fact that I was able to train differently and harder in areas that I had to leave alone for such a long time. So my body really reacted, and I feel at 275 pounds, I'm the weight that I should be. So I feel great now. I feel like I got a new lease on life. I feel like at 43, I can honestly say I'm smack dab in the middle of my prime. And, some people might roll their eyes at that statement after 24 years in the business, but, that's how I feel. And never in my 30s was I feeling as durable and as pain-free as I am now. So being back, like you said, I got a new look. I've got a new outlook, I should say. And that is that I don't want to take a second for granted, because I realize how quickly it can all be taken away, because it almost was.
That's awesome, man. I think it translates to the TV as well. I mean, we see you on SmackDown every week. It looks like you're out there having a blast in the ring, even with promos, interacting with the audience. And you were having a blast even during the RK Bro stuff as well. Obviously, we saw you on TV doing stuff that would have been uncommon for Orton, 10, 15, 20 years ago. But it's cool to see now.
Sure.
But you talk about, like,
Thank you.
yeah, of course. You talk about your time off and being home and the rehab and stuff like that. But when you're not dealing with that sort of stuff, for the 18 months that you're gone, what are you doing to kill the time? And I know you're a gamer. I need to know what you're playing right now, too. But, like, any new hobbies, TV shows, stuff that you got into during your time off?
I think when I first was out, Elden Ring was popping, and I got hooked on the Souls games. I'm actually playing Lords of the Fallen right now. When the kids go to bed, before mama's ready to watch Netflix and chill, I usually got 30, maybe an hour, hour and a half tops, where I can get some gaming in. And that's like my little decompression time. And my wife, Kim, is great at allowing me that. So yeah, Lords of the Fallen is what I'm playing right now. And it's hard, but it's I'm getting through it, man. And I think those Souls games are probably my favorite. But I did play the open world zombies on Call of Duty, and I loved that too. That was a great change up for the zombies as well. I remember and earlier in my career when guys like Cody Rhodes were into video games and like, you nerd. Cody's a fucking video game nerd, And it's like, man, I got hooked. Yeah. So now it's like, I got that in common with these guys. So like, when the Mortal Kombat came out and we're all on the road in Spain or wherever, I'm sure Xavier, Kofi, they bring the console and everybody's playing, and it's a good atmosphere. It's a good way for a bunch of guys away from their families to kill time and not be getting into trouble. You know what I mean? There's nothing as like innocent as a bunch of old men playing video games together.
That's cool, man. Listen, you mentioned Netflix before, too. It's fitting because Raw's going to Netflix in January of next year. Is there anything like you binge? Yeah, no, they're going to Netflix next year. You might be a Netflix superstar if you end up on Raw at that point. Who knows? But like when you talk about watching stuff on Netflix, what are you watching specifically on Netflix? Is it a show? Is it a movie? Like, what are you watching on Netflix?
Gosh, Netflix is like one of the first places my wife and I go when we start looking for something to watch. I'm trying to think. Like we watch so much shit. Like I'm thinking of stuff, and I don't even know the name. Like so. Sure. Like Ricky Gervais' Afterlife. That's on Netflix, right?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah. So like we watched that recently, and that was like a good change because normally we're like watching Vikings and shit like that. But like anything like medieval or epic, like I'm excited for Dune 2 to come out.
Got to support Dave, yeah.
Say that again?
No, I was just saying, got to support Big Dave.
Oh yeah, well you know what? Like I don't even try to support Dave. I just support Dave because he's in half the movies I watch. Like, he'll just turn up. It's I'm so proud of the guy, man. He's doing such a great job. He's killing it, and I respect the hell out of changing from our industry and going into the Hollywood thing because that's rough, man. Yeah. 12 hours a day on set, traveling to and from set. Next thing you know, like you got 6 hours to sleep. You can't get to the gym. You missed a meal. You gotta go over your sides for the next day, and then you just do it day after day. And you might be away from your family for months and months and months. That's not really like, to me, that sounds like a nightmare. Yep. So like to be able to watch guys go do that and kill it like Cena, like, oh my God. Like, and you mark my words, man, John, like with Peacemaker and everything that's been blowing up for John, and like I'll turn on a streaming service and there's a movie John just put out, and it's like, holy shit. And gotta support John. But like, mark my words, man, like in another couple of years, he's gonna be as big as like The Rock. He's gonna be like he's got something special. Nobody can really do comedy like John. And like the John that I know, like once he's really able to like get into that character and be himself, and it's kind of like Peacemaker was made for him. Yeah. Like that role was almost written for him. The way he acts in that's the Cena that I used to ride up and down the highways with, going town to town and had all these rivalries with, man. So it's great to see, but I enjoy this life. I enjoy wrestling in front of that live crowd, getting that immediate fix of adrenaline from that reaction that you can almost be a puppeteer and create these moments, and also listen to the crowd and let them take you on a ride to where you might end up somewhere where you didn't know you were going to go. And I appreciate you noticing that, like, it comes across in the promos and in my interactions with the other talent on TV, like that I'm enjoying being out there, because I really am. And I think that the more that I break out of my comfortable, zone, which I've done over the past few years, I think the better that the better wrestler, the better talent I am, the more that I do that.
I think so. I mean, it's cool, too, because you've had such a complex career as far as, like, some of the characters you've done. I mean, you talk about Big Dave and Cena and the characters and movies they've done. You got to give yourself credit, too, dude. I mean, talking about the career that you've had, like, the prime heel Orton from, like, '09, which is what I grew up watching. Like, oh, wait, no, I'm 28, so I grew up on that shit.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's
Sure.
great. Yeah, so just seeing that sort of stuff is cool. But, like, now, it's not even like you're playing a character. You're just out there fucking as yourself. Like, you are just Randy Orton enjoying yourself, and it's cool to see. And it's crazy because, obviously, you're gone for 18 months. So much changes. The leadership, creative, Vince, Triple H, blah, blah, blah. Is that playing a factor in it as well as far as, like, not being as scripted when you're out there? Or is that not really factor? Like, what's been your experience like working under Triple H in the 3 months that you've been back?
So I'd say before I left, when I was doing the stuff with Riddle, and it was still the old guard, and you know, none of those changes had taken place.
Yeah.
I was definitely at a point with Vince where he would allow me to approve my backstage vignettes if I were able to pre-tape them.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having a producer come give it the okay, he'd just say, "Did you like it?" And if I said yes, then I don't need to see it. You know, like, so I was at a point with him where I had started cutting promos in the storyline that we had with Edge. And before we went into COVID, I had done some stuff in Brooklyn with Beth where I RKO'd Beth.
Mm-hmm.
And after that segment, you know, Vince was like, "Man, you're on fire." You know, that was everything. And all I did was I had slowly stopped trying to attack these promos like I had to get what the writer was trying to tell me to say. I had to get that point across. Instead, I would take those words, I would come up with my own way to say them. And listen, those writers are great. They're the most creative people I know. But a lot of times, you know, if you don't change the words and the way you're telling the story that they're trying to get you to tell it, then it's going to come across as you not believing in what you're saying because you're trying to memorize. And I was stuck. I was kind of like, you know, I wasn't putting as much time and effort into those promos. And then when I started working with Edge, you know, we had a lot of history, and I was able to kind of go into our past and dig up some moments that were completely 100% factual. And it enabled me to take the fans on a ride where they were able to see through my words. And it wasn't like, you know, I'd flub a word, or I would, you know, my grammar wouldn't be great, or I would misspeak, but because of the emotion behind what I was saying, it didn't matter, because they knew that I believed in what I was saying. And when I started getting the reaction to me on the microphone that I'd never gotten before, I realized, like, oh my God, I've been missing out on this for almost 20 years. Like, holy shit. Like, it's so much more than wrestling. The promos are so important. And I hate that I was so late to the game on them, but just blessed that I'm still around to where I can continuously improve. And I think letting the people in, it's live TV, anything can happen. So when someone yells something out during a promo and I kind of react to that person, and like, that wasn't planned. Yeah. People know it wasn't planned. So when you're able to have fun with the audience and pull them in a little bit more, the people at home see that, and it just makes them see how comfortable you are out there and believe you're even more of a superstar than they might have thought before. And man, the word superstar, it's tough to say when you're speaking about yourself, but yeah. That's, you know what I'm trying to say. It's just, I can feel the change when I believe what I'm saying, because those fans, they believe it, because they can see that I'm saying those things with conviction, and I believe in them as well.
Definitely, dude. It comes across as genuine. I mean, you see it on the show, like I said. There's compilation videos on YouTube of you reacting to unplanned stuff, and it's just fucking funny. Like, you dancing to the New Day music from years ago or whatever. Like, there's a lot of that sort of stuff, you know, shit like that. It's great. But,
yeah, that was the early, that was like me starting to, like, cut loose and just have a little fun out there. But it's like, it's such small shit, but that's the stuff people remember,
Definitely. That's what we're talking about right now. But as we wind down here, man, I got to know, because the report came out about a month ago, soon after you came back, that WWE, and correct me if I'm wrong, tried to change your music. You've had Rev Theory now for 16 years, voices for 16 years. It's iconic to your character. The report came out saying they wanted to either change it or modify it. I know they did a different version of the song about a year ago, did Rev Theory, and it's sick. Obviously, you're still using the original right now. But can you confirm, like, did they want to try out new music for you? And can you use that eventual remix version at some point down the road? I'm fascinated by the music, so I would love to know.
Yeah, Rev Theory's great. My song's great. A lot of people enjoy it. I have never loved it.
Wow, interesting.
And man, you see me bouncing my head to New Day's music, or like AJ Styles comes to the ring with his music.
Yeah.
I'm singing along, Samoa Joe when he was with us.
Yep.
Just the instrumentals, Romans. There's a bunch of other guys, Judgment Day music.
Mm-hmm.
Like some music that gets me going. The kind of music I listen to in the gym, the kind of music that pumps me up, doesn't really fit Randy Orton, the character. So there is some truth to what you read, but I was just as much behind it as WWE. And we actually were working throughout the summer, me and Neil Lowry, with a new song. And it kind of kept evolving, and then when we thought we kind of had something higher up, some WWE brass would listen to it and they'd go, that kind of sounds a little bit like Romans here, so take that out. Then it would evolve again, and then it'd be like, okay, well, now what do you think? Oh, well, we need to change this part because, we need to have better cues for when we change camera angles, and then it would evolve. And then it kind of got to a point where we played it at Survivor Series with the intent, like, okay, am I going to come out to a new song tonight? And the decision in the 11th hour was Voices is just a song that people have learned to love, and God damn it, even though it doesn't necessarily get my blood pumping, it gets all those fans pumping, and they know when they hear that, first few chords or notes or whatever, they know who's coming down. They know who's walking down to the ring, and they know how that makes them feel. So to change all of that, and I was going to change my gear, I was going to try and make all these changes. I even I bought a pair of fucking kick pads because I thought, like, let me try and change up my work. But then in the 11th hour, it was like, what am I doing? Yeah. Like, if I come back this rehashed, I'm just going to look like some old guy who changed his clothes. Like, I need to be. So I think the only change I had was, instead of Orton on the back of my gear, it says RKO. Okay. and that's the kind of change that a lot of people, unless you're looking for it, you're not even going to notice. Yeah. So like, I think I like the fact that throughout the course, the majority of my career, I've worn the same shit. I've come out to the same shit. I've done the same shit. And it's just worked. And if it ain't broke, why change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But as far as the music goes, I would love, before it's all said and done, to have some music that gives me goosebumps. You know what I mean? And like I said, Voices is great, and it makes sense, and it the words make sense. It was damn near written for me, I feel like. And Rich from Rev Theory is a hell of a singer, and the band's great, and no problem with them at all. But it's just not the kind of music that pumps up Randy Orton.
Maybe at some point, down the road, when you're in that fuck it phase of your career, you could just try it and see. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least you could try it for like a month or something, at some point down the road. Why not?
Yeah, I've got to. And maybe we give, the fans a chance to hear what we started coming up with last summer. Because it's not bad. It's just, I think I don't really have the balls to pull the trigger because I'm not quite sure on it yet. Just because I dig it doesn't mean everybody else will. Sure. And yeah, I'm just kind of stuck right now. But like, if my biggest problem is that I've got a song of 16 years that everybody loves, and I don't know if I want to change it or not, like, I'm sitting pretty with just that problem.
Yeah, exactly, man. Listen, you got a great career going right now. You got a great thing going. We're loving you on SmackDown. You got Elimination Chamber on Saturday in Perth, the 24th. The new biography on Sunday, the 25th. Randy, I appreciate the time, man. This has been awesome. I know you haven't done a lot of interviews over the years. I've had you on my Mount Rushmore of, like, you, Bautista, Rock, and Christopher Lloyd, which is fucking random, I know, as far as people I've wanted to talk to. You were in the first match of the first WWE match I ever saw with William Regal 16 years ago, and that was what got me into wrestling, and we're talking here today, so I appreciate it, man.
That's great. And you know what's funny is I rode up an elevator with Christopher Lloyd in Dubai, going to a restaurant with my wife. Yeah, I did a Comic-Con that he was at, and we just coincidentally were on the same panel. And, like, I grew up Back to the Future, and Christopher Lloyd's the fucking man. So, like, he's up there on my bucket list too, and I got to scratch it off, so I hope you get to do the same, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. This has been awesome. Have a great one, Randy, and safe travels to Perth on Saturday.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.